There we go. We're live. Hey, welcome everyone. Wednesday, it's the open classroom. We're live. Anything you want to know about starting, building, growing an education business, I'll tell you what I know, or we can investigate some of the things that you know, but it's just about starting, building, and growing. And all of this cool AI stuff that's happening with communities. So, uh, here to help. If you got questions, put them in the chat. Let me know who's here, what you've been up to, what you've been working on. Questions, put them out there. There is an exciting bunch of stuff happening, and I'm, if I don't get questions, I always end up ranting about some of the cool stuff that happened in the last week or the last day for that matter. So I can certainly do that as well. So if you haven't been here before, my name is James. It's trainingsites.io. The community is free for you to join. You can certainly go and join the community right now. All of my content is free, including all of the massaged transcripts from these ones and all of the other videos that I do. So, who's here? Give me a thumbs up. Let me know what you're doing, working on, where are people from. Sometimes I get teachers, people who are in the formal education space. A lot of times I get course creators. Sometimes there's people who are just interested in all of this AI stuff. That's all fine. I focus on the education business and how AI applies to that. And what I think are the big moats that we have to consider with all of this AI stuff. Now, just to put this in perspective, I did a video about 40 minutes ago and just published it before this one. And some stuff happened on Friday that I'm like head exploding kind of stuff because it's changing all of the ways that I think about things that I do as a solopreneur or edupreneur in the education space. And it doesn't matter if you're a formal teacher or someone who, has traditionally created courses or sold courses, or someone who just likes to teach online or coach. This is exciting times, and it gets exciting each and every day. And I think, for me, I've been talking about making sure that we've got, I think I said at the end of last year, I said, look, we got 365 days until the end of 2026 and everything's going to change. Everything has changed in the last week compared to what was capable in January. In February, and I'm going to show you in a whole bunch of videos this week. We can go over it today, but some stuff has changed since Friday that completely obliterates what I thought was the cool stuff last week. That video that I just posted, you'll see it. You're going to hear a term called vibe working, which was one that the people at Anthropic, one of the, I think, chief product officer at Anthropic, talked about with Opus 4.6, which is a brand new version of Claude that's out that I absolutely am flabbergasted by. But you're going to hear these a whole bunch of vibe words, and I've been exploring those ones, and you'll see them over the week. But this whole idea of vibe working is what I've done since Sunday. And in fact, I gave Claude a job at the start of the Super Bowl, and by the end of the Super Bowl, I was completely blown away on what actually got created. And we can take a look at that today. So, who's here today? Let me know who came on to visit. What questions do you have? What do you want to see? Are you looking for AI stuff, for agents, for skills? Are you looking at platforms? What are the things that are important to you when you're working through all of these? Is it just how do I make money selling my educational content? How do I create my own platform to house all of it? What are the best tools or the best approaches to using? I'm open to answer any of those questions. And I would love to, kind of hear what you're doing. But I can share, if you want, just the stuff that I'm doing, just to give you a quick recap. And then we can kind of get into it. So give me a thumbs up if that's something of interest to you. And again, let me know. There's no question. Hey, the positive outliers here. Thank you very much for coming on. Yeah, just let me know what is it that is of interest to you, and it doesn't really matter. Again, I don't know everything about all of this AI stuff. I have a really good broad view of it because I live, sleep, eat, and breathe in it right now, and I've got 30 years of educational content creation. So if I don't know about it, we can investigate it together, or if you have cool stuff, let me know and we can look at it as well. Again, these are live, totally unscripted. So how to sell education content, EPUB or PDF. So here we got a couple ones here. Uh, Inspiration stuff. how to sell education content in EPUB or PDF. What else we got here? Universal problem solver. Very cool. Teach training and AI become a plumber. Um, Good question, and probably an answer that all of us who are a little bit older are thinking about when we look at our kids and our grandkids and saying, man, get a skill, get a trade. Probably a pretty good idea. Decent prompt engineer getting into Claude skills and creating them in anti-gravity. So universal problem solver, I'll blow you away when we actually take a look at that today. So let me do that one here. Who else we got here? How to sell an education content in AI era. Okay. Uh, Jashina, hey, thank you very much. And then Keith is talking. Hi, James. How has vibe work changed the way you will be moving forward? So here's an interesting question, and this is in the video that I just did earlier. I posted it 15 or 20 minutes ago, but I'll show you a quick overview of what I did during the Super Bowl on this whole idea of vibe working. Now, just to put this in perspective, you have to remember, like, I'm a small business, self-employed, edupreneur. I have staff here with the agency that we work with on a regular basis, but this is like bootstrap. Okay, so total bootstrap. So this is what I was able to do during the Super Bowl and basically the last 3 days. So Sunday afternoon, Monday, and Tuesday. And I'm going to go over them quickly because I think there's obviously a lot more to it. But just to give you an idea, and all of this is available to you, by the way, as part of the community. So I'm just going to move my mouse over here. We'll open something up. So here's trainingsites.io. We'll do the other screen here. And again, this is all free for you to join, but you'll notice there's 3 things that have changed, and this is all because of Vibe working, what used to be called Vibe coding, but I'm thinking like Vibe staffing, Vibe learning. All of this stuff is changing really quickly. So here's a course here that is now available to you. This is a 15 lesson course, and I use the word course because right now it's hard coded into the Fluent Community platform that I run things on. But this course is really a checklist of all of the things that you need to do when you start, build, and grow your education business. And again, it's based on the 10-step map here. So here's the big picture, campus map. So go do these. These are free. That's the big picture. And then the details are the checklist of where am I, what have I done, what do I need to do around that map. That's the campus blueprint here. Now, the thing to remember is that this entire, what I'm calling a course here, all of the content, publishing it to the community, was done by Claude Cowork and Opus 4.6 in about an hour during the actual Super Bowl. And I'm talking about everything. And a part that is really flippy on this is if we go take a look at it, you're going to see that there's links, but these links are actual live links to AI agent skills that I also created using Cowork. So it created the course and the content based on the checklist of the things that need to be done. And all I gave it to create this course was, and I'll open this one up here. All I gave it was this mind map, and I'll make it a little bit smaller so we can open it up here. Get a little bit bigger so you can see this. What I did is I basically did a markdown version, just the text of this mind map, and I gave it to Claude, and I say, look, I want you to, here's the first map, which is the campus map. You have my content, you've been working on my site, you've been working with me. I want you to create a checklist and use all of the appropriate skills that I have, agent skills, and basically do a checklist of the tasks that people will have to do moving through it and which skill to use at which time. So that's what I gave it, was just this, and I ended up with the entire course with the links to all of the different pieces. So all the decision pieces, what does an outlook look like? What skill do you use? How to think through it? There was 15 lessons done, and all of it was done for me. I didn't write any of it. I didn't even put it on the site. That was actually done for me. Okay, so courses now, in terms of organizing content, but also creating course content based on your previous work and the other digital assets you have, that is done. And it's more than good enough now, because the course should not be about content, but it should be on the application of the content either that the person generates or the frameworks that you've actually built out or demonstrated during some of the live sessions. So automatic courses done. I also, and again, this is in the video, a little more detail, I also had Claude on Sunday night create a brand new WordPress plugin to work in my website to manage 180 skills that I created. So I had it create the skills. I then had it create a plugin that works on my website. And if you go through and you take a look at these ones, for example, if I go take a look at lesson, which one of the ones I had was the lesson hook creator skill. It actually built this entire plugin. All of the content, everything that you see is done by Claude Cowork. I didn't do any coding. I didn't touch it. So skills library is available. Still being fleshed out, but it's there. And then I did the exact same thing for the tutorial library, which is all of my YouTube videos. And I use the exact same talking to Claude and actually get it done. And I now have all of my YouTube videos here are all done, created. YouTube videos, the transcriptions are done. All of these either deep dives or process maps are all created from the transcripts. All of this is done for me. So the only reason I'm showing this to you is that this is now not how do I do something with a prompt. This is what do I want done. And this just changes everything for not only everyone in business, but in the education space for us. But you have to remember that I have no coding skills, none whatsoever. And if I can do this, I'm sure that someone who was a course buyer or a student can basically ask what they want to learn. So I think there's going to be like a whole vibe learning thing happening in the next 60 to 90 days, which is going to be a whole other kind of brain exploding thing. So this is here now. I did it in the last 3 days with Opus 4.6 and Claude and Cowork. I did no coding, but I got 2 plugins, skills, libraries, and courses that were absolutely done. Um, I have no idea how it was done. I just know that it is done. And I think that's kind of one of the neat things are there. So, and I want to talk about this one here because Dave was asking, I don't think I would do either PDFs or EPUB for courses because people can share them on the internet. That was one that was there. Let me just get rid of this one because this is a really important kind of thing that I think that I made a shift on. So Inspiration Stuff was asking about how do I sell education content in EPUB or PDF? And I'm going to give you my honest answer to it. I don't think you can sell information anymore. It's free. If you say to me, look, I have an expertise in this and I want to sell a EPUB book or a PDF or a template, a Notion template, or I have a template for something, or I want to create an ebook to go and sell on one of these platforms. If you tell me what the topic is, I could probably, with a couple prompts and goes at it, create the exact same thing that you are trying to sell. So I don't think content has any value whatsoever. And in fact, I don't think you should protect your content. I think you should publish as much content as you have and make it free and as much as you possibly can. So, for me personally, I wouldn't, I don't think you can sell education. I think you can sell transformations and live guidance or mentoring through that transformation using or applying frameworks that you have from your experience and all of the content that everyone else has or brings to the table. And that's why I kind of put together that campus map and campus blueprint. And there's kind of 3 key steps. We can go into those as well. Selling information now is like a race to the bottom. Who can make it cheaper? And if you're selling content courses or any of those things like ebooks or PDFs, or even using them as what traditionally was a lead funnel, if you have a cold market where no one knows you and you're trying to say, here's my great ebook or here's my PDF or something like that, so what? why would I bother going through the hassle of giving you my email address to download something that I could have created just by asking a question? So, a personal, again, I don't know what market you're in, but I know for me, having sold information and educational products for the last, since 1996, basically, when I started online, you're in big trouble if that's the way that you want to do it and have it as a business. Is there one-off examples? Yes. If you already have a large customer base and you have people who already know, like, and trust you, yes, you might be able to do something like that. But if you're in a cold market where you're looking to build or start a business and you're thinking of selling information, I wouldn't bother. That's my personal 2 cents on it. So if you have another example of it, or if you've got another idea, I would love to hear it. Put it kind of in the chat. So um, here's the question here was, Positive Outlier was saying, how had Claude Opus 4.6 changed things for you? And this is a really, really, really important question. And I'm going to see, I'm going to pull over Claude here. We'll just pull this one over so you can see it. This is one that, this is actually the Claude Cowork. And again, this just came out on Windows this morning. I'm pretty sure that's what one of the other members at Training Sites just let me know. But in me personally, if you look in the bottom left, I'm on a Mac. And right now I'm using the Max plan, which is $100 a month. And when you do that, there's two things that become available on the Mac. First one you see at the top, it has Cowork, Chat, and Cowork and Code. And then in the bottom, you'll see there's one called Plugins. And this is all flippy stuff since Friday. And in the bottom here, you'll see it says Opus 4.6. And they had Sonnet 4.5, and then Opus 4.6 is kind of the new one that came out. Now they had Opus 4.5, but Opus 4.6 I think came out on Friday and it's available. So here's kind of the gist, a big picture for people who haven't kind of done this before. If I go and I change this to to chat, pardon me, you'll see that it says new chat up in the top here, right? If I go and change it to Cowork, it says new task. So these are for completely different purposes. A chat is just like using ChatGPT or Gemini. It's like you ask a question, you make a prompt, you get something back. And when you do things in Cowork, I basically say, I want to have this done. And the part that is done can be something simple, it can be something more complex, it can be multi-step and multi-process. And what 4.6 does that's different is that it can orchestrate all of the different skills that it needs to get a bigger task done. And I'll give you an example. One of the things that I've been doing well, actually, let me show you. One of the things that I've been working on really, really hard over the last a little while is when I started getting into agent skills and skills, one of the things that I did is I would create a YouTube video, for example. So I would create a YouTube video, and then what I would do is I would use one of the AI tools to go to YouTube and download the transcript. And then I had a skill that was done, and what it did is it took the transcript and it created, as an example, this tutorial content. Then I had another skill that took this content and it created 3 social media posts. And I had another skill that said, okay, write an email announcement skill or an announcement to my members, and it was another step. So these were all really good skills that I was able to call upon, but in the past it was like me calling on it. The part that's changed now with Cowork is that those longer processes or steps or business things that you do, this is getting to the point now where I can just basically go, here's a new YouTube video, publish it on my website, social media, and send an email to everyone and post on my community. So it's taking those individual pieces and it's running multiple skills at the same time to get a task done. And this is the big, big, big shift that's happened. This has nothing to do with prompting. I didn't say write a copy for me. I said use this employee, this vibe employee, this vibe working thing to just get these pieces done because I created a YouTube video. Now, is it perfect? No, it's not perfect yet, but it's getting better every single day, or every week there's something that gets a little bit easier and a little more consistent. And I think the big part here, and it's talking about Claude co-work and code, the big part that is missing for a lot of people yet is we can create skills just like I did in that skills library here that I'll show you. Again, I've got all these skills libraries. The part that is kind of missing for people still is that if I have content, how do I have my agent automatically publish it to my WordPress site or send the information to my CRM and do a broadcast email? It can write the content, but if you get those MCP connectors set up and just say, go send the email, it will create the content, log in or use your autoresponder or your email marketing system, put the copy into the campaign, and if you just say, hey, send it to the whole list at noon or at 1 o'clock, it's gone. And in fact, I did that today for this live stream. This morning, I said, write 2 emails, send one out at 9 and send one out at 11:59. And it's the topic of the live stream we're doing today and the link to it. And I want you to send them out. And it sent 2 emails for me today. But I didn't write the copy. I didn't add it to the email marketing system. I basically told my Claude 4.6, I said, hey, here's a skill, or use my skill to do this, or get it done. And it was actually done for me. So this is all about stuff that I'm doing as an employee, but you have to remember, if you're a teacher, if you're selling courses, if you're selling educational content and it's 3 months from now, the people you're trying to sell stuff to are doing this. The people you're trying to teach can do this. And this is the part that I'm struggling with personally, and I hope that you're starting to at least go, wait a second, I have to think differently about prompting and responding, doing a prompt or getting good at prompting so I can, get some content. If I look today by the end of the week, and I challenge you guys, if you look by the end of the week today and you're going, okay, well, what can I get accomplished? And if you want to create 10 courses, write 10 ebooks, have EPUBs created about 20 different topics, and you start thinking about this, how many could you create in the next week? So that brings up the next question, how do you protect your education business? And that's where I hope all of you are starting to think about building your own privately branded campus, is what I've been kind of talking about for the past year and a half, because I think really this is the only way that we're going to be able to kind of protect ourselves. And I did a video on moats, and I'm going to do another one on it, but these are kind of the phases that I look at or work through with that, and hopefully you can see that. But if you're going to have an education business that is an actual business, and I think with AI, there's 3 things you have to do. One of them is you have to build your privately branded community like trainingsites.io, and you have to have a community library where you curate all of your content as well as the content from your industry slash market and frameworks or ideas that complement what it is that you're trying to teach people or transform people with. And I think you give everything away, but you have them inside your community to do that. And that gives you the opportunity to have a closed system where people know, like, and trust you, and you have their email address. The second area is building out that paid area where you actually interact live with people. In cohorts is a funny word, because a cohort, people think of a cohort as a timed course for a group of people. I think it's a time transformation. So, whether you call that a sprint or whatever, but it's like, you want to build a campus. We start here. We've got 4 weeks, and at the end of it, you're going to have your own campus set up. You want to build your automations. We start here. At the end of it, you'll have your automations done. But these are live guided implementation sessions. And then being able to scale it as a campus is being able to automate all these things so you don't have to do it. So I think those are kind of the 3 things, and I'll put the link to the moat below so that you also have that. So this is like all stuff that is happening really quickly, and we got to really, kind of think about um, how we're going to put ourselves here as well. So what else? We got a lot of questions here. Is this making sense to you? Give me a thumbs up if this is kind of making sense. And I'm looking at this as well as I'm looking from a traditional educator. And, people are worried about, are they copying or are they handing in assignments that were done by something? Some of the tools like Google Disco that's out and the generative tabs, people are building vibe coding apps directly within Google Chrome browser based on open Chrome tabs. So, we're thinking about protecting content. We've got you and me users, students, course buyers who can build their own apps to teach them something directly in the browser based on some tabs that are there. So this is changing everything about how we think about learning and teaching and monetizing a business and what's really important or what's really monetizable. So, for me, I'm learning as we go on this, and I hope I'm able to communicate that this is a super exciting times and things are happening really, really quickly. So call it a reality check or what, I'm not quite sure. So um, who we get? Debbie, hey, thanks for coming on. Should he copy? So here's one here. Should you copyright the content you create? I want to put that one in. Um, I'm going to tell you. A true story. When I first started doing video training, in the late 90s, early 2000s, I had, if you guys are old enough, you'll remember Real Player. That was the only, there was a Windows Media just came out, but Real Player was the only way you could listen to music or watch video. And there was another one from Adobe Flash that was there who had a Flash player and a whole bunch of security issues. But the whole thing is that we had videos, and I actually had videos that were specially encoded with something called DRM or digital rights management. And the reason is you didn't want people to steal your content because the content was your own and that content had the value. So you held it really, really tight. You didn't want anyone to have access to it unless they paid for it. So I think the problem is now in terms of copyright. Again, I don't know what industry that you're in. Um, for me, I come up with ideas every second. I'm trying to capture them and curate them and make them available to AI tools. I would much rather work on protecting access to my library than copywriting individual pieces of content. And the reason I say that comes down to my fundamental understanding of what the way all these AI tools work is that they don't look at individual pieces of work. Like if you want to copyright a document, AI doesn't look at your document. It doesn't care about your document. What it looks at are 4 to 5 words in a paper that you wrote. And all it does is it chunks the words. It doesn't look at the document. Are you going to copyright each individual word for it? Like, I don't think AI, again, this is my limited understanding of underneath the hood, but it does something in a vector database and it chunks into vectors or math equations. It chunks a document into 1,000 different pieces. So if you copyright a PDF document or something that's there and the AI tool is looking at 4 words, what do you, I'm not sure what you're actually doing. So um, that's kind of where my head is at that. And if you want to see, let me do this here. Let me just hide this. And I'm gonna go to another screen here. I'll just kind of show you one of the things that I'm doing and just something to consider. And this is why I think WordPress as a content management software is a good choice in the education space. And I'm gonna open up my admin here and I'll just show you what's happening in the background on trainingsites.io based on all of the content that I capture, whether it's from you as user generated content or stuff that I create. So I'm just going to open some up in the back here. And I use a plugin, and it's a paid plugin. I think it's like 50 bucks a year on WordPress, and it's called AI Engine right here. Now, the thing that's interesting with AI Engine is it has that little chat bot that shows up in the bottom right. But if you take a look here on the screen, you can see that every bit of content that is actually added to my site in skills, in tutorials, in courses, in chats, in the documents that I do, it is all being put into what's called a vector database. And this is the same thing that the large language models use. So that all of the content that I put in is put into this extra database as a vector database. And when you go to the site and you start looking at a new tab, for example, and I'll pull this up, and you go into the bottom left-hand side and you go click that little button here. This is AI Engine, but it's answering based on what's on the page and also on or in the vector database. It doesn't look at a file. It doesn't look at a blog post. It looks in the vector database for all of the chunks, and then it uses, in my case, I have it set up using, I think, Claude or ChatGPT, and it basically looks at the database and then gives an answer based on my data. So all of the stuff about copywriting, I don't know the value of it anymore. Again, I don't know what industry you're in, but in general education spaces, I think you're much better to capture and curate all your digital exhaust and keep it in one place, because my frameworks, my checklists, my skill or approach or experience on applying the information, that's where I can charge for, and that's where you can charge for. You know, it's one thing to give someone a hammer and a saw, but they don't necessarily know how to build something. They may get a checklist on how to build it, but they may not know the trips, the tricks or the tips, or they may not know all of the problems that you might run into in your unique situation. And that's where you're able to be there when someone says, "Hey, this doesn't work for me," or "I'm doing it differently. How can I apply this?" Or what would be the best way of doing it? You can ask for help, but a lot of people still want a trusted advisor, someone that can clarify things for them with all of the noise and all the information is about. So if you have your own data set, your own community, your own campus with your own archive of important codified information in one place, and you're there to help people, charge for it and treat it as a business. So yeah, so what else we got here? Again, sorry I get ranting on this stuff. It really, really excites me, and I'm to be honest with you, I'm having trouble sleeping sometimes because I got all these ideas in my head on how cool it's actually going. So, the and here's one other thing. Creating a course on okay, so here's one here. Actually, I created a course on Oboe. I'm not familiar with that one. I created for a paywall in Emergent. Okay. So here's David. I don't think we've talked before. If you're in the community, here's a couple things. Here's a couple things I'm just going to do as a recap here. So having just said what I said about having your own privately branded campus or archive, I get asked all the time. It's like, "James, why don't you use a tool like you had? Or why don't you use Kajabi or Go High Level or Thinkific or Circle, or these softwares as a service?" My personal belief is that software as a service uh, is in some deep, deep, deep trouble. And we're going to see that by the end of 2026. And in fact, I actually think the entire WordPress plugin industry is in some deep, deep, deep trouble moving forward. That's another story. But here's the thing, if you put your content into a static course in a platform, what are the other parts of your business that need not only access to that, but where does that course fit into a transformation? Is there something that you do with that course? Is it just content that you want people to have access to? If you look at all of the stats on actual learning management software and the completion rates on static courses, it's like 2%. People pick and choose the pieces that they want. No one, or not no one, a very, 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 very small percentage actually finishes parts. And again, the part that I run into on a regular basis is I have customers on our agency side that still use LMSs, and they should, because they have to provide certification of completion and consumption of the content. So there's still lots of opportunities for it. But if you are selling something that has static content that has to be consumed, that can't be created by themselves, you put it in a platform, but Where is the email marketing for it? How are you doing the shopping cart? How are you doing the live sessions? Um, the paywall that's there, is it in another particular tool? How is it all integrated together? So you have software as a service, all in one, that doesn't do everything really well, but it's a good start of something. You have all of these other software tools. There you go, email marketing system. You get Circle for community. You get Active Campaign for this. You've got a CRM for that, a help desk for that. And then you try and connect it all together, but you've got all of the data in different places. Or you start thinking about, here's my campus, and I have an AI tool that knows all of the CRM records, all of the emails, all of the help desks, all of the content and the community engagement they've had all in one place. And I'm collecting all of that data for myself, for my community. That's the business value, because you can apply AI to your entire ecosystem and not try and just ask questions of individual pieces. So if I look and you say you've got a course and a paywall, where does that fit into your business is a big question that I'm kind of asking. And if you haven't already, please go and take a look at the campus, the 10-step campus map. My computer's a little bit slow today. It's working hard. Yeah, it's here on the left-hand side. I'll just open this up here. We've got the 10-step campus map, and it goes through the 10 steps. And these are the ones that I've seen every single business go through. And they'll still go through it, different variations, but it's like, picking the business topic, or what people used to call a niche, which I'm not a big fan of niches anymore, but picking that area and understanding what the goals of the people are you're trying to help and what your business goals are is laying the foundation for it, and then building out your community and all these other pieces. So if you haven't, please make sure to go through that one, and also the campus blueprint, which does a little more in depth. And all of the maps and things are available with that, and links to the appropriate skills. So if you have a course, I get it. Try and sell the course. Um, my experience has been, and this is what you're going to hear from a lot of people are starting to kind of talk about it now, is that courses are very, very, very difficult to sell when they're cold. If people are still trying to do like opt-ins and lead magnets and do sponsor or paid ads to get people to buy a course, good luck. I wish you all the luck in the world. I've not seen anyone recently be successful with that, unless they have a lot of money to spend, and or they have a large audience that already knows, like, and trusts them. So for me personally, I don't do any paid ads, anything like that. In fact, I try not to do any lead magnets, or I don't do any fancy scientific web copy or sales copy stuff anymore. The only thing that I'm focused on is getting people into my community for free. That's the only part that I do, and the only marketing I do is on WordPress. Sorry, YouTube. That's all I do is YouTube videos, and then I repurpose the content, or I'm having AI repurpose it. And I think, moving forward with all of the noise and the ability to do this stuff, we're going to get overwhelmed outside of your own community. So, if you have a course that's working for you on a paywall, yeah. Um, I don't think that's going to work anymore unless you're famous already. So that was kind of my 2 cents. Again, if you've got something else, love to hear about it. If you've got something else that's working, go into the community, share it. Just go into the general discussions here. Just go in and let me know, what are you working on? What's working? What's not working? Put your links in. If you've got a course here, you can see wins and celebrations. If you've got a course you've launched, or you have a brand new infographic you created in Notebook LM, or you've done something cool, share it with the people here. I'd love to see what you're doing, and I'm sure other people would like to kind of figure it out as well. So share your stuff in here. Here's someone that started creating custom GPTs and stuff. Put them in and share it. I would love to actually go and see those ones. So um, what else we got here? I'm going to scroll down to the bottom. Okay, there we go. So lots of this one. Okay. As a solo teacher, one instrument of portal, all kinds of instrument skills and art forms. That one I didn't know in context there. On oboe. Okay. Oh, so a course on oboe. Okay, you know what? Thank you very much for the clarification. I thought that was a platform, but it's actually the instrument. Okay, very cool. Um, okay, cool. And I do, and this is, it's funny that you mention this one, and I'm going to talk about it just for a second because we do have some members. I have one member who's actually is a voice coach and a singing coach. And I do have customers that actually teach musical skills, and I also have some customers that teach physical skills. And I think, that particular market um, is ripe for being able to share your frameworks, your approaches and contents to stuff, but being able to teach the exercises and implementations of it in whatever form that takes, whether it be on one-on-one coaching or group coaching or cohorts or sprints to be able to do part of a process for you. I think that works beautifully being able to do that because people who can teach something like oboe or classical guitar or being able to play a particular sport, if you can get a community of people that know, like, and trust you and be able to work with them and not only validate your approach to doing things, but making sure that they feel comfortable with you, they will spend money with you to do and learn and have what it is that you've been able to accomplish. So if you're doing, real skills, trades, this model still works. The AI stuff will still help you repurpose the content. And the part that's getting interesting, especially for us, is in 2020 or 2026, we're going to see all of the additional multimodal stuff from Google come out, where not only is it going to be the transcript that we're repurposing or using, but we're going to not only be able to create videos to show what it is that we're going to be talking about. So I'm talking text to video, but we'll be able to have a student basically go and film themselves playing whatever it happens to be, or film themselves doing, and be able to bring it in to critique it and work on it. But if you're not in a community, that is going to be a little more difficult to consolidate and share and be able to monetize that group of people. So 2026, that stuff is there. It's here now. It's not in the mainstream, but it is here now. If you're on Gemini right now and you'd go to actually and put a YouTube video link in Gemini, and you say, tell me about this video, it will go and analyze the video, but not the transcript. If you go say, hey, what is this? How did a person's feet, what was the foot positioning when when they hit the golf ball or the tennis ball? Or if someone was sewing or playing this instrument, where should their hands have been? It's actually looking at the visual representation of the film and the auditory as well as the text now. So that's kind of here. What else we got here? Psychic. Uh, Studer. Okay, morning all from Australia. Hey, thanks for coming on. Who else we got here? What else? What else we got here? Any more stuff going on? Yeah, this is like flippy times for all of us, and I am pumped about it. And I hope that, if only these questions, if you guys have questions, obviously put them in. But the thing that I'm so excited about is there is an opportunity for everyone who likes talking to people and sharing their experiences with people. That's coming back into vogue. And that is something that people are willing to pay for, is that sense of community, of knowing, liking, and trusting the rapport with a group of people with a shared interest. And instead of all the noise, all of the research for people, it's like, I don't know about you, but when if you go for customer service, it's like you can get a chat bot with answers. You can be on the phone and listen to some, press 7 for this, press 8 for that. Sometimes you just say, hey, I want to talk to someone about my situation. And if you have your own community that is a learning community or a campus, that is a place where people are willing to pay for that clarity and the end to all of the overwhelm. And if you can put that together in the form of those live learning experiences, that's what I'm focusing on moving forward. And I think that's the only long-term play as all of these other tools and the content comes out, because everyone's content is free now. And again, I challenge anyone, if someone, just to go do it yourself. Um, and I'll actually show you, let me see if I can find the prompt. I'll actually show you the prompt that I gave to create that course. Uh, hopefully, let me see if I can find it while we're talking here. Some more questions. Who else is here? Who else did we get here? There's any other things that are kind of visionary leadership, not merely. So slowly working through the intro courses. Okay, so here's one. Slowly working through the intro, mostly on free tiers of engines through the chatty plus given vids and considering upgrading to Claude. So here's one of the questions I just want to kind of address. It's here because this one's so important. I have Claude, and I'll open this one up here. As again, I said I have Claude. Make sure I got my mouse here. Yeah. So I have Claude. I have the Pro one in the bottom left, which is $100 a month. And if I look at this right now, I'm on a Mac. Apparently, again, Windows came out this morning, but I'm doing co-work. And if I was going to hire a VA and or a plugin developer, and or a copywriter, and or someone to go and post my content onto my WordPress site, how much would I have spent to basically go and do that, as opposed to the 3 days that I just asked Claude Cowork to do it? So this is just an more astronomically more productive way to get all sorts of stuff done. And I'm just scraping, like, what are the things do you want done? Not how to do it. What if you had the magic wand today and you just said, look, I'm building my education business. What should I do today? Or what are the things that I should try? Or do the research on my market and tell me what they need and then build it. So that's the kind of questions that we have to start asking this year and this month right now. Not how do I create a course or create a syllabus for me. That stuff is easy. Anyone can do that. But start thinking bigger about what it is you're trying to accomplish as a business, the transformation that you're trying to provide. I'm trying to help people start, build, and grow an education business with their own training site. That's all that I'm focused on. The way that I'm personally looking at it, my business model is about doing the live cohorts, doing the live, we do live training, not training, we do live sessions, working sessions every day of the week for the paid members. And it's like working on your stuff. How do you apply these different situations? Or what are the strategies you would use? Or how do you use this tool? Or how do you use this skill to get this particular task done? Or which skills do I need? Or what processes do I need? And it's only going to get more exciting when we're doing this, because you have to remember the other piece that's coming here is we've got OpenClaw. And if you haven't heard about that, that's kind of the level above Cowork, where it will actually go out and do things proactively and come back and tell you that either it should be done or it did do it. And those are ones that you can hand off your department to, basically. Marketing department. Watch what's happening in the market, do it or use my approach and compete against my competitors. And that kind of stuff is here now in OpenClaw, but you don't have the processes and maybe not the skills and the connectors. As those round out, it's going to get easier and faster for the people that are ahead. And if you don't get on board, if you think, for example, that you go, oh man, I'm going to take the next month and film my videos for my course, I'm going to send them out to a video editor, I'm going to get ChatGPT or one of the other tools to do the lesson content, I'm going to go to Nano Banana and do the graphics for it. I'm going to buy this tool to do that. And you look at that and you say, it's going to take me 30 or 45 days to do that, which is really fast. And it may really look good. And if you look at that and someone has created 15 courses about all of the topics, answering all the questions that people are interested in, maybe it's in text, maybe it's in videos that they had AI go and basically create. Maybe it's infographics that were done, but the agent created the infographics and they've done 15 of them. Where is someone going to spend their money? With the person that did one really, really good course, or the person that has an ecosystem of all of the answers to the questions that they have and that they can talk to you? So I'm just like, I don't want to preach kind of thing, but it's like, this is the stuff I'm thinking is going to be happening. And that's why I'm working really, really hard on to kind of share this message, or kind of it goes working forward. So, the question about, I'm working through intro courses. I'm mostly on free tiers on engines that have chat plus given the vids, considering upgrade to Claude. if you can pick a particular tool right now and it is education related, my personal uh, thing is to get, if you have Google Workspace, you have the Google Pro account, which gives you access to Notebook LM, infographics, videos, all of that stuff, which is great. But if you're going to buy an AI tool or anything like that, get Claude by a long shot. And here's the other thing about the paid one. And again, this is someone who was asking earlier about 4.6. Here's the other thing that's happened. 4.5, I think, had a 250,000 tokens, I guess they're called. Again, scientific term for, technical term for the fact that you only had so much room in the container for back and forth and work to be done. Claude 4.6 Opus is 1,000,000 tokens, so a 4-time increase. One of the things that happened when you were doing courses or kind of complex work is you'd start working in Claude and it would go, oh, sorry, the tokens have run out, it's expired, start another task. When I was creating these courses and or plugins, some of them were like the plugin in the course was done in one session. So you can say, hey, I want you to create the courses. I want you to create the text that I would give to Nano Banana to do graphics. Or I want you, if you had an MCP connector, which is available, you're in co-work and you go, so, to create a prompt for Nano Banana and send it to Nano Banana and have it create the images, or send it to Notebook LM to create the infographic based on the prompt. So you can start thinking about using that whole engine. I would focus on Claude moving forward. And if you have to do a lot of media stuff and you don't want to necessarily get out of that Google ecosystem, kind of stay in there. And the other cool thing you have to remember too is that I'm talking about Claude Cowork. Remember, Google has anti-gravity, and anti-gravity is kind of like the Claude Cowork / Claude Code equivalent. And again, these things are, I'm not technical, but these are ones where you basically say, hey, I want a WordPress site, or I want a website, sorry, or I want an application. And these tools are going and building it. The thing that's interesting here for all of us is that if you do it within Google, for the most part, you're kind of in that Google ecosystem, right? If you do it in Claude, you have the ability to connect more or more in an easier way to all of the external places. So I like Claude from a business perspective and also from the marketing language or the way it approaches things. But if you're like in Google, stay in Google. If you got to do a lot of media, I would kind of stay and work in Google and look as you get going into the anti-gravity stuff there. That's my 2 cents. But yes, definitely spend some money. Minimum, spend the $20 at Claude. And that gives you access to co-work. And again, I think it's available now. So get at the minimum is the $20 one, and it's still more than enough to get started. What else we got here? Who else is here? Um, okay, so here's one here. Yes, I see the value through yet elder dad chickens home. So basically scale with the income increases. Yeah, this is an interesting question too, and this is one that I think is a fundamental shift in the education space. Is that I think with content and traditional ways of doing things, the pricing is a race to the bottom because it's a lot easier to do for everyone, and the only differentiator you can have is the price. So anything that used to be something that sold for a $47 course or a $97 course, or even like a $197 course or any of these big ones, if it is around content and information and the delivery of the information, like zero. Excuse me. If you're getting into something that requires implementation, application of content, use of tools, and how they apply to a person's situation, that's where you can charge money for. And that has nothing to do with the type. That can be soft skills or it can be hard skills. I think whether it's a business one or a pleasure one, all of these continue to apply. So what else we got here? Any more questions? How long have you been going? I get these I get so pumped on this, and sorry if I get super excited. I'll share something else with you today. The other part that I'm excited, I'm always looking at the clock on the screen right here now, is because I think my daughter-in-law just started labor. So we'll see what happens for grandkid number 2 here. Hopefully right after this call, we'll be on my way to the hospital. So I'm keeping my eye on the time. But if there are some more questions, I'll certainly go and answer them. So what else? What are other people working on? What are things that you want to talk about? Is everyone using Notebook LM? Excited about Notebook LM? We can talk about that. My personal kind of thing is because I need stuff a little more flexible. That's why I'm spending a lot of time in co-work. And actually, while we're on co-work, I'm going to show you one other thing that kind of came up. And I'm going to see if I can open one here. Because the other thing that co-work did, and I think it was this one here. Yeah. So when you're in co-work, this is one of the tasks that I actually had it do this morning. So this is, thank you very much on the congratulations. Here's, not here yet, I've only got one, the second one's coming. So here's, I'm in co-work right now, and here's one of the things that I actually had it do, is I had it actually document the plugins that it created and also do a security check on the plugins. And that's the one that I did here, which was actually here. So here's the part that, if you go to Notebook LM and you output something, you can get like an output of a report, for example, or an infographic, and you can customize it. You can do a slide deck and it kind of picks the style. One of the things that's actually happened here, and we'll see if I can find the ones that were put together in the artifacts. So one that I have here is it actually is getting really, really good at, I'm looking for the documents that it had. Maybe it wasn't this one. It's actually getting really, really good at creating documents. And in fact, it will create now excellent PDFs. It creates excellent Word documents, spreadsheets, and slide decks. And I'm just trying to remember where the one that I had that had all the slide decks here. There's this. Where's the one? Hopefully, I'll be able to pull it up. Let me just go in the main. I'll go into another screen here. I'm just going to show you some of the documents I actually created just this morning for it. And the reason I'm doing it, of course, is because it is getting really good at creating work documents that maybe you didn't spend time on in the past, or that you thought, oh, I can maybe only create them using something like Notebook LM or some additional skills like that. So again, I'm just opening these up just to see some of the ones that we actually put in place here. Yeah. Okay, so here's just a couple that I did as outputs, and I'll show you these ones. These ones are actually created. I think it's going to open up in the wrong one. Yeah. So these are actual documents that were created for me. And this one opened up. I'm on a Mac. It opened in Pages. So while I was doing the video earlier, I basically asked for a recap of the work that was done in the 4 days. And this is the document that it actually built for me. So this is a well-formatted document. It's got my brand colors. It's got my brand fonts. All of this stuff was done for me automatically. I didn't do it. And it was a Word doc that was created. The other ones that I did for another one, there was a couple other ones. Even stuff like integration plans, content that gets created. I'm looking for the slide deck that was there. Yeah, so like all of the stuff that you normally would do an output and you want to control it, this is right out of the box now. Like write a report, create a slide deck. It is more, in my opinion, it's more than acceptable to use the content that is getting created directly in the AI tools. And I think the hard part was, especially for me when we first started like last year, it was like you used a prompt, you got a response, and then you went, oh, that's AI, it's not good enough, or it doesn't sound like me. It's much better now for educational content for adults. I'm not talking about getting marked at school, but if you're trying to, help people or teach people about a particular process or transformation, the content that you get directly out of these tools now, I think is more than acceptable. Um, I still check it to make sure that it's not missing steps, or misnaming things. But once you get going with it, they have a memory now. They just spit stuff out based on the conversations that you're having. And it's enough now to not say, create a report with this formatting that has 7 sections that does this and have to have a whole bunch of context. The context is starting to be baked into it. So write the report, write the emails, write the social media posts. And this whole, on the fly thinking, get stuff done, this is all available kind of working through here. So here's the other one, another question here. Different Claude Classic and Claude Cowork from our perspective. Okay, this is a really good question. And let me see if I can do this. Because there's something, okay, I'll try and do it on my video pencil in a second, but I want to show you one other thing just before we do that. If I go into Claude Cowork, and again, I'm on a Mac. Again, I don't have Windows, so I was told it's now available on Windows as a desktop application. So at the top here, I have the chat, the Cowork, and the code. Okay. In the bottom, you're going to see one called plugins that are here. That's new. So plugins are commands, connectors, and skills. That's plugins. And then if I look in the bottom in the settings, when I was looking at settings, and I've showed you these in other videos, there's ones called capabilities, which are all of the skills that you have. And if you haven't looked yet, remember, if you're just tuning into this one, I have 180 or 191 skills that I'm just starting to add out. These are all available here for anyone who's a logged in free member. I'm starting to fill in all of the skills that are there, but there's 190 of them broken into some particular sections. And these are all ones that are related to education and teaching and learning kind of skills. So I think skills are really important. Race to the bottom. Anyone can create skills, but I'm curating them and I'm teaching people how to use them. That's kind of the business that fits in. So I have skills there, right? So think of skills as individual employees that are really, really, really good at one thing. So we've got that, the skills. If I go to chat and I'm talking to chat, I'm basically just asking a question, right? I'm saying, hey, here's this, go and do that. If I add a skill, instead of me trying to say, create an email series, I just say, use my email series skill to create a 7 email onboarding. But if I have a set employee that knows exactly how I want things done, exactly what the emails look like, how they're formatted, the tone, the style, the way the links are presented, what the call to action is at the bottom, I have an employee that's a skill that will do the exact same work every single time. So a skill is like a single employee that is perfect at one task. Okay, so that's a skill. The second piece is in this case, and again, I'll go through, wrap these all together. The second one is if I go to that part, which was the connectors, think of the connectors as an employee that is in an office, but the employee knows what to do, but they don't have a desk, they don't have a computer, they don't have a pencil, they don't have a ruler, they don't have a paper, they don't have any tools to do their job. All that these connectors are, when you see the word connectors, think of MCP for Model Context Protocol. And what those connectors do is they are either tools or external information that the employee would need to complete something. So for example, if you have an employee that is going to write a report, it may want to have access to the data on your Google Drive, right? So it's connected. If, for example, in my case, I have one for, here's one, my social media connector. So I have a social media service. I have a employee that's great at writing X posts, and I've given it access to my Content Studio social posting service. So I have a skill and I've got a connector. Those are two kind of pieces, right? Employee and tools. Those are the two things, and those are available in chat. Now, here's the thing that happens is if I go and I'm in, I got some employees, and I know that one employee is really, really good at, for example, being able to write emails. And I have one employee that's really, really good at getting transcripts from my YouTube videos. And I got one employee that's really, really good at writing social media posts. If I was in just chat, as an example, I could go in and say, grab my transcript. I would get the transcript because I had an employee that did that really well. I'd get the transcript and then I maybe put it in a Google Doc, right? Or a spreadsheet, or just save that text. And then I would go and I'd open up the same chat and I say, um, go and write 7 emails or create 7 emails or create a blog post, an SEO optimized blog post based on this transcript. And then it would go and do that. And then I would go to the next one and say, oh, I got to post it to my website. Here's the blog post, or here's the emails. I have to bring it to my CRM, put it in. You get the picture, right? Each time there's like you being involved, moving the process from the employee to the employee. And if the employee didn't have access to the tool, for example, if they wrote the emails and they didn't have access to the CRM or the email marketing automation, they're going to give me the work, and then either I have to manually go and add it, right? What Cowork does, and again, I don't talk about code, Claude Code, because for me, originally Opus 4.6 was for programmers, right? And that's why they called it Claude Code. And by default, Claude Code uses the command line, which I have no idea how it works and what it's about, and I don't want to learn it. So think of Cowork as kind of a wrapper around Claude Code. And it's just an easy way to just talk with or converse with Claude Code underneath, but it's something that you and I, as non-technical or non-programmers, would be able to do. But here's the part that is interesting here with Cowork. When you have Cowork, it has basically someone who is a department manager for a particular group of skills. And you can just, in Cowork, you can work on something and just say, in my case, I don't want to do a live demo here. It's 2:07 already. In my case, I would just say, here is a YouTube video that I just did. Go and write the tutorial for it. And it will call up the employees that it needs in the order that it needs it to be able to go from start to finish to complete the task. So think of Claude Cowork as like a manager that knows what employees it has and it knows how to get to the end task. So that is the really, really cool part. And they can run, some of them can run in parallel. So once it has a transcript, it could say, okay, go create the tutorial content, go create the emails that get announced, and go create the one. So it'll actually run those 4 skills at the same time. So you can get stuff done really quickly. And this is just one session. Remember, you can have these multiple swarms of stuff doing all of these things. If I had 20 YouTube videos, I could have 20 of these running at the same time. They don't even have to be my YouTube videos. They could be my competitors or someone that I follow or something that I find interesting. You know, one of the things I've been playing around with is I'm just going to go, you know, there's people I subscribe to on YouTube. I'm just going to go, hey, that's a great video. Bam, post it as a blog post by applying my framework or my approach, or take this YouTube video and make it appropriate for building WordPress communities or whatever. So it doesn't have to be your content necessarily anymore. It can be repurposed in your community as long as your framework's applied, your approach to things, and it answers a question that the people in your community have. So chat and skills and those MCPs, those are there, but there's no interconnectivity without you in between them. When you get to Cowork, it's now what's the completed task, and do I have the skills to actually go and get those done? And the other cool thing with Cowork, not only is that it has memory of the conversation, so it knows what each of the skills are doing, and it is also smart enough to know that if it one way doesn't work, it tries another way to complete the task. So it's not like, oh, I tried and gave up. It's like if you tell the employee, like, go do the work, and it only tries one way to get the result, and then come back, you say, sorry, man, I can't do it. It'll go and say, look, I tried this, didn't work. Let's try another way. Oh, it didn't work. Let's try another way. and it'll exhaust the ways to get its part done. And then it'll say, hey, I need some help, or we're not able to do this. Okay, so that human in the loop can be there if you want, but if you don't want it and you've got skills that are proven and processes that work for you, hand it off. Hand it off. And this is the other cool part that just came out on Friday, and I'm playing around with it right now, is they also have plugins. And I installed one, and we'll just take a look at one here. Let me just go, let me just do ones here. So here's the part that's kind of cool. Commands, connectors, and skills. I'm looking at this as a whole department head. So if you have someone that you want, a plugin is a group of skills and a group of connectors, and what they're calling commands is just say / new tutorial, and you give it the URL, and that department, that plugin knows what connectors it needs, what skills it needs, done. And this is, they've got a whole bunch of them right here that they're kind of playing around with. So if I see if I can go, I don't know where the one is to do a new one. Where's the one that they had? They had a sales one. Let's do a new one. We'll do a new plugin here. These are the ones so you can see it. Browse plugins. So here's one. They've got one for customer support. So triage tickets, draft responses, escalate issues, build your knowledge base, research customer context, and turn it into self-service content. I did one for marketing as an example, product management, productivity, sales. Do prospect, craft outreach, and build strategies faster. Prep for calls, manage your pipeline, and write personalized messages that move the deals forward. You have a plugin, all of the skills that are needed to do that are installed for you. That department, you got a sales department. / new leads. Cool, man. Just think about it. Those are ones for sales. Do you need one for creating course content? Do you need one for, booking speaking engagements or setting up cohorts or coaching sessions or events? Do you have stuff that needed to be due for admin? All of that stuff is absolutely flying on that one. Yeah, so hopefully that's kind of getting your head spinning a little bit in a good way. All I'm asking, or all I'm doing right now, and what I suggest you do, is start focusing on the skills and the processes that you're doing right now. So, what are the things that you do when you're creating content? What are the things that you need to do when you do a YouTube video? What are the things that you do when you answer or you do a proposal for someone, or answer a help desk ticket, or do an email marketing campaign? What is it you actually do? And then just take a look at those and make a flow chart and say, this is the step. I do this, I do this, I do this, I do this. And then figure out, if I was going to ask someone to send out an email campaign for me or build a course for me, what would I ask, or how would I tell someone else to do it? How many lessons, or how would they figure out how many lessons were included? How long would the lessons be? What kind of, what is the style of the content? How many graphics do you need created? Is there any marketing for the course? But just try and map out the ones, the low-hanging fruit, about stuff that you're doing already that you do the same thing over and over again every time you do it. Just start thinking and make a flow chart. Like go and open up your copy of mind map, for example, and then just go and figure out, okay, what are the different pieces that I have to do here? Let me see if I have one that's open, a flow chart that we can kind of look at here. Co-week steals data. Well, here's an easy example of one that I actually did. Okay, so one of the things that I did with Claude Cowork is I have, and you probably have an FAQ, right? Or you have like a document library. One of the things that I do is, personally, I use Fluent CRM and Fluent Community, which are the the engine that I have my community on, and it runs on the WordPress content management software. So Fluent Community is kind of the big hub, right? Everyone asks questions about how to use it, how do I start using it? So I thought, wouldn't it be a great idea if I could go to the Fluent Community help documents and basically go and say, you know what? I want you to go and take the documents that are in Fluent Community's help docs, and I want you to repurpose them for my campus, and I want you to add them to my document library. So, what I did is I basically created a skill, and the skill was about finding the document library, getting the documents, repurposing the documents for me, and then posting them to the website. So that's exactly what I needed, was a series of skills and also some tools to do it. The tools that I needed were being able to connect to my website. And in fact, that's exactly what I ended up doing. So, if I go to look at docs here, and I'll show you the ones that I created. On this one, where's the one? Yeah, so this is a document library that I have on the community. And what I did on this one is I actually created a skill and a workflow that it went to the Fluent CRM website, took their help docs and repurposed it for getting it set up and using it directly here on my campus, and went and published it. But it's just a workflow, and then I took a look at the skills and the tools that I needed to actually go and do that. So I did that for Fluent CRM and Fluent Community. It's in my documents, and it only took the stuff because I said, get the stuff that's important for people, not all of the documents. I want you to go take a look at the titles and say, is this something that people would be asking or need to know? And I basically put that in the skill, and it was done. Imagine what you would have done before that to do that. That content's there. I just repurposed it for myself. So, yeah. What else we got here? How long have I been going? Hour and 16 minutes. I'll take some more questions before I go be a grandpa, maybe. Yeah, those workflows you share, helpful. Yeah, yeah. Okay, I'm going to show you one other thing that I found out about too, and this is just kind of neat when we're doing this. So just if you're thinking about the future, just think the skills that I need, the processes that I have, the tools that I need to connect to. So just start thinking about those things. And one of the other things that I've learned, and I spend a lot of time doing personally on, and this is even stuff in the community, is that don't be afraid for two things. I always ask any of the tools, whether it be Gemini or ChatGPT or Claude, ask them what you should do. Just say, hey, what suggestions, ideas, discuss, and just have a conversation with your employee or your department head. Look, this is what I want to accomplish. What are some ways that we can do that? And when you're doing it, one of the things that I always ask, that I learned a huge lesson with when I created this last one here, when I did the when I created the tutorials here, and this has to do with the whole business model thing. When I created the tutorials that I was doing here, right? My actually it was the skills, pardon me. So I was creating this skills library, and my initial idea was that I could sell each of the skills individually, because I have been selling some skills individually. That's how I started doing it. So I would have the skill would have its own kind of card in the skill here. It would have its own skill file. It would have its own shopping cart item because people had to buy it. And it would have its own download link where the skill was. And then it would have a follow-up email for the skill. So there was a whole bunch of moving pieces. And I was prompting, saying, hey, yeah, this is what I want to do. Go ahead and do it. And one of the things before I got it to actually build it, I said, is this the best way that I should do this? Is there another way that would get me my business outcome that might be faster, easier, more profitable? What are some other ways that I might be able to do this? And basically with some discussions, it came across and said, you know what? The skills, trying to sell skills by themselves is a race to the bottom. But if you can include live application / sessions on how to apply them, charge for that. So I would have built a whole thing, but I double checked and say, hey, it's someone who's in the field, my employee, my manager who's doing the work, that goes to the boss and says, what are you doing? That's way too difficult. Here's another way to do it that I think we should do it that reaches the same goal, which is how do I monetize it? How do I monetize my expertise? So the way I set it up now is that the downloads are free. The training, the live training and the stuff that we do is not. You got to pay for that. So made it a lot more simple. I can do a lot more skills. People can use the skills. It's a way to get into the community and use the skills. You have to be a registered user to do that. I learn from people. They learn from the skills. The skills are dynamic. You can go and change them to whatever you want. And in fact, when you're using skills, even these ones, what you do is install it, and then you just basically, so let's go and edit it and make it my own. But the whole foundation of the skills is there. And the only reason I got that is because I asked for it to critique what I was thinking and try and figure out another way to do it. So that's the first thing. The second thing is every time that I'm working on anything and I think I have the right prompt, is I always ask the tool to write the prompt for me. I don't do any prompt engineering anymore. I don't do any fancy prompts or structures or frameworks for prompts. I just do natural language conversations. And when I'm stuck, I always ask the tool to give me the prompt to give it, to get what I want. And it often, more often not, does that. And that's the same thing when you're using tools, for example, like Nano Banana or cross tool prompting. I'm creating a graphic in or with Nano Banana in AI Studio. Create the prompt I should give AI Studio and explain why I should do it this way. Or I'm going to have an infographic, for example, that I'm using in Notebook LM. I want to customize it based on what we're doing here. What should I put in the special instructions that I give to Nano Banana or Notebook LM or whatever tool that you're using? So yeah. And the other question Keith asked here, which is a good one, I'm correct in assuming that the skills that you're building work in Claude? Yes, they do. Now, here's the cool part. If you are using another tool, the skills file are an open standard. And last week, if I go and open up here, get my keyboard live again, if I go to Manus IM, which I did a really cool video on the first agent browser last year, if you go take a look at this one, and I have a coupon here for credit, so we'll talk about this one here. This one here. Where is it? I'm just going to go to, where's the one that I can find? Where is it? There is use skills. Guess what? Manus.im now does skills. So exact same thing that's there. You can use it directly in Claude. So I can search skills and they have a whole bunch of them that are here. But you can use the exact same skills that you are using in Claude are now here and available directly within Manus. Now, the other thing is if you go to Gemini and you have that skill.md file that you created from here, you can just upload it or attach the skill file, the exact same one that you've been using in Claude. You can do it and do the exact same thing. It will work in Gemini as well. And if I'm not mistaken, it will work in ChatGPT as well. So you don't need Claude to use the skill files. It just takes, they don't have an interface that I'm aware of right now to actually kind of manage those or upload them or just reference them. You have to attach them. Same skill file works, so it doesn't matter what platform that you're in. There we go. So what else we got for questions here? Here's another one here. Is anyone making books with QR codes and a strategy for adding learning on guided from the books? So anyone there? QR codes? I have not been doing that myself, so I can't comment on that one. I do have lots of customers that use QR codes specifically when they're in person and making the QR code available, or when they're speaking and using it as a link or something for people to scan to bring them into a community or download something, but I haven't been doing personally. So if you have been doing that, it would, put it in the trainingsites.io campus here. Just go and put it in AI tools and apps kind of thing and let me know if you're doing that and how it works. I'd love to find out more about that. So what else we got here? Yeah, okay. Hour and 25 minutes. I think I'll bring it in for a landing. My pitch here, of course, is if you haven't already, just go join the community. Again, all of it is free. And I got to see if I always forget. There we go. I always forget how to get rid of the little green thing on the chat. I'm here by myself. I'm using Ecamm Live on a Mac to do these live streams in a little thing here called Stream Deck that I switch between the scenes here. So that's all I'm doing back and forth here by myself. These are totally ad hoc, having a lot of fun. And if you have any kind of expertise that you want to share, make sure to get into trainingsites.io and go and take a look at those first two pieces here. Campus map, if you're going to have a business, an education business, you're going to do these 10 steps, I guarantee you. And if you want help using the right AI tool and the skills, go and start playing around with the campus blueprint and then ask questions. I'm here to help. And if you're really, really excited about it and you go, man, I want to join in and I want you to help me and I want to be part of the paid community, you can obviously do that just by clicking here, and it's upgrade to a campus VIP map. And right now, that's $97 a month. It is going to be going up as all of these skills come on. And I'm looking for people who are actually wanting to build a business and want to share their expertise and be able to monetize it and look at something that is not here. I'm going to create a course and I'm going to be independently wealthy next month. Ain't happening, my opinion. If you want to be here a year from now or 2 years from now, even a year from now, you've got to think differently. And that's what I'm trying to get across here. So like and subscribe to the channel, join the community, it's free. Ask me questions. Let's have some fun going through all of this. So hope you enjoyed this. Everyone, take care, expect the best, and I'll be back. Well, actually, here, one last thing. There we go. I just did this video an hour ago before we started. Let me just, yeah, this is the one I just did about an hour ago.
Awesome. Let me get the contract.
We've got 86 views in the hour here, so I'm just going to skip that. If you haven't seen that one, go and watch that one, and it just explains a little bit more about the vibe coding stuff that's going on. So I get tons of videos. I do them every day. Hope this is stuff that you like and you're enjoying. So take care. Expect the best. Back later today and maybe tomorrow with a new granddaughter, hopefully. Let's see what happens. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.